Hi guys, welcome back to the Big Sew Along. This is Thursday, November 5th. So anybody here in the United States has been having a very crazy week. In spite of Halloween and a presidential election and what else? Oh, time zone change, the daylight savings time. I still found time to do some sewing. Actually, I spent my time sewing as a way to get away from everything else. I have had this idea for a while that I wanted to make a pair of overalls from one of my Tina Givens patterns, so I finally did it this week. I used this fabric that I used is from my stash. I've had it for a long time. It was originally from Haberman Fabrics. It is a linen rayon blend, and it was not originally this color. Originally it was like a maybe beige or off-white. I can't remember now. I dyed it a long time ago, but if you see it in the pictures, if the color looks patchy, it's because I dyed it myself, and I just dyed this one in the washing machine. So this was really a wearable muslin because I have this fabric right here, which I don't know if you can see. It's a really beautiful pink, like herringbone linen, and it does have a bit of a gray tinge to it. You can see there's a gray selvage. I love this fabric, but I did spend a lot of money on it, and I didn't want to waste it on this like overall jumpsuit thing until I knew it was going to work. So in order to do this, I used the Tina Givens summer pinafore pattern for the bib portion. And I used just my regular Plinka Pants for the bottom. I did cut a couple of extra pieces that you don't have listed in the pattern for either of those things. I cut a waistband, and I cut 2 ties to go across the back, and I'll show you a picture of here so you can see what that looks like. I cut those in a contrast fabric. I actually had plenty of this, but for some reason I was really digging this. This is like a houndstooth. I don't really know what colors these are. I think it's blue and black and white, but I don't really know. So what else did I cut? Did I say I cut a waistband? I don't think I did. The waistband I cut is 3 inches wide by the circumference of my Plinka Pants at the waist. I spent a fair amount. I cut ruffles, but that's in the Plinka Pant anyways. I think on this pant I actually cut my ruffles a little bit longer so they're more gathery. And I really like that. I'm going to do that again the next time I make another pair of Plinkas or anything else with that pattern. I spent a lot of time working on this. So I think I'm just going to show you really quickly here. I'll show you the video of how I did this. It's a little bit of a longer tutorial. So if you don't really want to make these or you're not interested, you can just fast forward through that and come right back, and I'll give you the lowdown on how I feel about it after we're done. First thing we're going to do is take our Plinka Pant, or whatever pant you're using, and you can see here where there's a fold line here and a fold line here. This is for your elastic casing for your that just gets folded over like this and sewn down to hold your elastic. So this is actually the top of your waistband. So fold that back because we don't want that on there, otherwise it's going to add another 1.25 inches to the length of your bottoms of your pant part. Then we're going to take, this is our summer pinafore pattern, and for ease of working, you can see I've just traced mine out, and I don't need this whole thing, so I just traced it out, you know, at about halfway down. Now I am just going to, first off, we're going to do the same thing at the top here. We're going to have 1.25 inches that gets turned under at the top. So we're going to mark that off first. Okay, so there's an 1.25 inches. This is going to be the part that gets folded back to the wrong side for a facing. So for ease of working, I'm just going to go ahead and fold that back. Now, on my pattern, I know I want the bib portion of my overalls to be 10 inches long. From here to where it ends is going to be 10 inches. So, of course, put that at 10 inches right there. And that is right here. So I'm going to just make a line all the way across at that 10-inch mark, making sure that I'm still even. All the way across like that. Okay, now this width this way needs to be the exact same as the top of your Plinka pant. So if you just lay your pants right on top here, we can see that I need this to end right here. Now, the Plinka pant has a seam allowance of 5/8 inch over here, and your bib is going to have a 5/8 inch seam allowance on this side, which means that the distance between the two is going to be exactly the same. So you don't need to worry about subtracting a seam allowance over here and adding it over here. It's the same distance. So, okay, so that's good. Now, we know from here to wherever it meets, wherever it runs off the page, you're going to want that to be straight. Just like that. Ah, a pencil, of course, is going to cut that up. Okay. Now, the only thing we need to do is, the seam allowance will be included here, so that's fine. But we do need to add a seam allowance at the bottom, and I'm using 5/8 of an inch. So let's just add that in. And now, whoops, oh my God. That torn up paper is messing me up. Now this needs to extend down to your seam allowance here. So this is just going to be straight from here to here. Okay. My pencil really tore that up. Okay, that looks good. Now let's just double check and make sure that is in fact the width of our pant. And it is. Okay, so let's cut these out. We're going to cut both of these on the fold. This is the center front. Don't forget to unfold that facing part that we folded under for cutting the pattern. We're just going to cut this exactly like this. And just put a little notch at your center front at the top and at the bottom. And then cut another one so you have one for the front and one for the back. Okay, so these are our pieces, our front and our back cut out. They're both exactly the same. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to add a piece of interfacing just to that front part that's going to get folded over. So my interfacing piece is about 1 inch, and it should be 1.25 inches, but it looks like it's maybe 1.5 inches. And it by the width of your top there. Now we're only going to fold this over 1 inch, which means that that interfacing will be in the crease, and that will give you more stable top of your bib, and it'll also give you a better crease there when you crease it. So go ahead and put that on, both pieces, and then all we're going to do is put these right sides together And we're going to sew these just on this straight portion right here. So from here to here with your 5/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, so here we have the top of our bib sewn together. You can see I have serged the edges of my seams and folded them or pressed them to the back. I have my interfacing on here. Now, we're going to do this each armhole, one armhole at a time. Okay, so this is the right side of our fabric. Okay, so there's the notch at the top of my bib where my facing is going to fold over. I am going to fold that to the right side, so the interfacing is showing. I'm going to take my bias strip and I'm going to lay it raw edge to raw edge, so the folded edge is towards the inside. And I'm not going to go all the way up to the top because this is going to fold over and finish that off. I'm just going right about, maybe a third of the way through that facing piece. And I'm going to start pinning there. And we're going to go all the way around the armhole. The underarm here is a little bit, you can see it's a little bit of a corner, so it's going to be a little bit trickier there, but it does work. You just have to fidget with it a little bit. And then just be careful when you're sewing that so that you don't get a big wrinkle under there, like right before or right after that underarm point. Now when we get to the other side, we are going to do the same thing with our facing piece. We're just going to fold that to the front and put our bias tape over the top of that. And we're just going to sew it to about right there, which means that I can clip that off. Ouch. All right, now we're just going to sew that all the way from there, all along there, with whatever your seam allowance is. Mine's 5/8, so it'll be way over here. And then we're going to fold that, all of that, the facings and the bias tape, to the wrong side. All right, so that's our armholes bound and our facings folded over to the the wrong side. They are not stitched down yet. We don't want to do that yet. What we do want to do next is the straps. I don't really know what the directions are for these. I folded mine in half lengthwise, sewed up 2 side seams, and then turned them right side around and top stitched. That way you have one end that's closed and one end that's open, and these are about, looks like about 1 3/4 wide. So what we're going to do is take the side that's open, the raw edge, and on the back side of our pinafore top, we're going to put it right, we're going to sew it right under this edge. And I'm not shoving it all the way in there because I don't want it to be too bulky. I've got about a 3/8 of an inch probably under there. So I'm going to stitch that down like that, right there. And after I do that, I'm going to fold this, press this up so it's like this. Actually, what I'm going to do is put these straps in like this. And before I fold them up, what I'm going to do is stitch along this edge all the way across. And I'm going to use this 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, which is my serging line, but you can do it however far up or down you want. Just make sure you catch both of your ends in there. So we're going to stitch all the way across there, and then we're going to fold this up like this. And on mine, I'm going to do an X stitch. So across this way, and then across this way, and then in a box, but I will probably do that from the right side so it makes sure that my stitching looks nice. Then we're not going to sew these to the front. We are going to have, however, stitch this facing part down on the front as well. Okay, so here's the fun part. We have our straps on. Whoops, knocking my camera. Get that out of the way. Okay, so we have our straps on. They're just attached to the back, and a big blob of thread there. But anyways, that looks good. I have put a pin at the center back and also at the center front. And now I'm just going to randomly put some pleats in here until this top part of my bib measures about 12 inches. And I have a ruler set right here so I can kind of tell. I just put a pin here so I can make sure that they're more or less even on either side. And I am just going to fold and pin. Of course, I'm going the wrong direction, but that's okay. Fold and pin, fold and pin. And that looks good. That's almost exactly 12 inches. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. They obviously don't have to be the same. After I do that, I am just going to go right over this row of stitching that I had before, and I'll be going through several layers. So it's going to be a little thick and tricky. You may want to press it down first. I'm going to go straight across that. I might actually even do it twice just to be safe. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the back. And I forgot to tell you guys before, I did measure my straps on my bodice. Like I just tried it on to make sure they were right. I ended up having to cut off 3.5 inches to make them the length I wanted. So just be sure that the straps are the length you want before you sew them into the back. Okay, next up we're going to do our waistband. And to do that, I have put my bib inside my pants. These are wrong sides together. That's the wrong side, that's the wrong side. Put this in like this. I hope you can see that okay. And I've basted them together, wrong sides together, okay? Then I'm going to take my waistband. Now for my waistband, I just sewed my band together, and then about 1.5 inches from either side of that seam, I put 2 buttonholes, and I used the largest buttonhole available on my buttonholer, and it's still a little bit small for my ties, but I think it's going to be fine. Then I also put interfacing on the back just where my buttonholes are. Then I folded one edge over 5/8 of an inch and pressed it. The other edge is raw. The buttonholes are going at the center back, and I'm going to put that right over my bib. Now, this is going to be the right side of my bib that's facing me. And I'm going to put the right side of my waistband on top of it. And raw edges are together. I am just going to pin that all the way around and then sew it. And in case I didn't say it before, this waistband is the same as the circumference of the waist of my pants, and it is 3 inches wide, and that includes a 5/8 inch seam allowance at both ends of the waistband. Okay, so now I'm just going to go sew that on, and then I'm going to trim this seam down, and I'll be back. Okay, so you guys can see what I've got going on here. That's my waistband. Everything is folded to the front, and I graded and trimmed my seam allowance. I did not understitch because I'm going to top stitch along this in a minute here. But before I do that and before I sew this down, I am going to, on the back, I am going to sew just the back down from here to here. Then I'm going to insert my ties from the front and pull them through here so they come through my buttonholes. And then once I have those in there, I will do a little stitch right here where the side seam is on my bib right here to hold that tie in. And then I will sew down the front of my waistband, and I will top stitch the upper edge all the way around. Okay, just so you guys can see what I was talking about there, I have my back waistband sewn down. I did the edge stitching at the top, and I've edge stitched the bottom. Hopefully I caught it all the way around. Now the front is not stitched down yet, so I'm going to take my strap, my tie, and feed it through the side here where it's open. And now I'm just going to, that's thick. I'm going to stitch this just like I'm doing a stitch in the ditch. I'm just going to continue this line of stitching to the bottom here, catching the tail of my tie in there. Then I'm going to do the other side the same way, and then I'm going to edge stitch this other end of my waistband down. And then all I have to do is hem them and decide if I want my buttonhole to be on my strap or on my bib, and I don't know yet. But then literally all you have to do is put your buttons and buttonholes in and do your hem. Okay, so what do I have to say about this? I'm sort of up in the air. I kind of like them. If I do this again, and I'm not entirely sure that I will, but if I do, I think I will make them without a back. I think I'll eliminate this back panel and just have my straps go all the way over and like cross over in the back. I will definitely make the armholes come down longer. You can see, probably in one of these pictures you can see it too, they actually come up pretty high, and that's not really what I wanted. I wanted them to be lower. I will take some length out of the top of the pant. I thought I took enough out when I just had when I removed the facing for the waistband, but now I think part of the problem is I didn't take enough out there, so now these ride higher than I want them to, which also means the armhole is higher. So I will try to adjust that for the next one. The other thing is these ties. I'm going to show you another picture of the ties here in the back. They're just too bulky, and I don't know if it's the ties themselves or if it's just that maybe I just don't want to do ties. I don't know. I might figure something else out there, or I might just not do that at all and let them be big, wide, like barrel pants, which I also really like, so that would be fine with me too. I think that's all. I think if I make these again, then those are the changes I will make. I might also try this with a different top. This, like I said, is the summer pinafore, but there's also the Madeline slip I think could work pretty well. And I want to say there was another one too, but I can't remember what it was now. Anyways, I think I might try something without the pleating. I don't know. And then also, you know, I made these with the Plinka, but you could obviously use any of the Tina Givens pants that are wide enough to go over your hips to do this. And I was thinking it would be really cute to do this in an Oprah, so it has like that skinnier leg, or in a Meg, so it has that band around the bottom, or even in the Elope. I thought that could be really cute too, with the like band and gather bottom. So if I decide to go ahead with my pink pair, I think I might try one of those options instead. But I do know that it goes together now, and I have a better idea of how I want the actual garment to fit when I'm finished, like the armholes and that sort of stuff. So that is my make for this week. The other thing I've been doing this week is stress shopping, and I have like a mini vintage fabric haul that I got off of eBay. I got these from 2 different vendors, and they both had some pretty good vintage fabrics. I don't have the name of those vendors right now, although one of them also has an Etsy shop. So I'll look them up and I'll link both of their shops below. But this is the first one. This, I know you're not really even going to be able to see this because it's organza, but it's got this really cool, like, here, if it's doubled over, I think you can see it a little better. It's got this really cool, like, geometric, like 50s, 60s kind of print, but it's organza, and it's like the background is like a grayish color, a really pale gray color. I love this fabric. I don't have a ton of it, so I'm not going to be able to do a lot with it, but I could probably do a really poofy sandy with it, and that's what I was thinking about doing with that. This fabric was from a different, the next 2 are from the same person, not the same person as that, but these 2 came from a different person. So this one is like, when I first got this, it was really stiff. It's got like a nice, like a 60s, almost like a block print looking thing to it. It's blues and browns and greens. When I got this, it was really stiff, and it felt like a nylon or acetate taffeta. But when I washed it, it got super drapey, and it lost a lot of its, it's still got a lot of shine to it, but not like it did when I first got it. When I bought this, I thought it said it was cotton. So, you know, look before you leap, I guess. Anyways, I think I have like 5 yards of this. It's not wide. It's only like 35 inches wide, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I do really, really like it, especially now that it's been washed. It does have kind of it did have like a funky kind of plasticky smell to it, and I'm guessing that's actually from the fabric or the paint or whatever, or the dye, not from the person that I bought it from, because it didn't smell like old funky smell. It smelled like a plasticky kind of smell. Anyways, it smells fine now. The other one I got from that same vendor is this really beautiful, this is a silk, it's probably like a crepe de chine, I think is what that is. And it's really beautiful. It's super lightweight. It's a great color. Like, I love this particular mouse kind of gray color, and it's got a really pretty like turquoise little flower on it. And I think I got 3 yards of that. None of these were terribly expensive. They weren't cheap, but they weren't like super expensive either. Anyways, I love this, and I'm pretty sure this will end up as one of my many slips sometime in the near future. That, my friends, is all I have for you this week. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit subscribe and a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And also, please come back and see me again next Thursday. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.